And I believe we're live, but there's always this freaking lag with Zoom. And let's see, I think we should be good. Let me go into Lab Coat Agents, and then I think it is unicorns jumping through rainbows, and we can begin our discussion that everybody's been waiting for about Zillow and what's going on, and holy hell, cats and dogs living together, and it's just total chaos. Holy shitballs. Let's see, me, and yep, we're on. Good. Okay. Well, folks, thanks for hopping on. I'm Jeff Fargo with North American Title, and I'm here with my good friend, Steve Hawks. Steve is a massive, massive producer here in Southern Nevada, has been here for years, done over 3,000 transactions, and is, when you want to talk to like the smartest guy in the room, he's one of the smartest guys in the room when it comes to real estate. And we've been talking back and forth for a long time about Realtor.com and MLS and Zillow and NAR and all of that. And Steve reached out to me and was losing his mind about what's going on with especially now with what's happening recently with Zillow. And so we're going to keep this fairly short today, everybody. We're going to keep it at a hard stop after 30 minutes because y'all have ADHD and you're not going to pay attention. So there's a very good chance we're going to do 2.0 of this next week, same time, same place, everything. And also I'm recording all this, and so this will be going out on multiple streams and also on YouTube. So it'll be recorded. So Steve, what's on your mind, buddy?
Hey. Talk about, we were talking about how the COVID-19 created a time machine. And, I said, the stuff that was going to happen in 3 to 5 years is probably going to happen in, probably 6 to 12 months. But we got to change that now. Now what was going to happen in 3 to 5 years is going to happen in 3 to 5 months.
Yeah.
And these tech companies, and we call them tech companies, but what technology do they have that we don't? Nothing. All they have is the access to the data that we don't have. And they're making a killing by using our data that we can't use in its same form without paying a crazy amount of money. I can get the data to Las Vegas, but I can't get the data to Houston. I can't get it to Phoenix, but all these portals can. That's not technology. That's an unfair advantage. We should all be on the same playing field. And what's happening in the last 2 to 3 weeks and what happened yesterday is a prime example of a huge advantage by having the data. I mean, this is like AT&T in the 1980s. These MLSs are like AT&T in the 80s. They got this data. Yeah, remember long distance was $1, $2 a minute?
Yep.
I remember calling my grandma and they're going off. I mean, long distance now, it's free.
Yeah.
Because AT&T had those lines. They own those lines, but they were keeping them to themselves. And look what happened. We're seeing the same thing with the MLS with the data right now. And the companies that can get over on those firewalls are making a killion, and they're making billions. Look at Redfin, $5 billion company. Realtor.com is probably worth $10 billion. And you have King Zillow that's worth about $20 billion because they have access to that data. And just the announcement the other day with that EXP might have the same access to that data because they're one company, their stock shot up. Not because of any technology, but because they're going to have access to that data because they're one company. They're like a Redfin.
Okay. So, and this week, for those of you that aren't aware, but this week, Errol Samuelson, the Chief Industry Developments Officer from Zillow, and this is a direct quote from his video, "We're evolving our Zillow offers services to guide our customers through the entire transaction from start to finish with Zillow employees. The public will work with licensed agents, which they're saying are existing Zillow agents with Zillow Homes. And there's going to be a migration to direct listing feeds from the IDX. And that they will be joining local and state realtor associations and NAR. And that's just from that video. And we're looking at, they do 200 million unique monthly visitors come to their website, massive. So the data aggregation they have is, they are the Google of real estate data.
Yeah, but why are people going there, Jeff? Because it's access to the MLS. They have access to the MLS and all different.
They want to buy or sell a house.
They go there.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Why don't we all have that access? Why can't I have the same access they do in New York or Florida? That's why people are going to Zillow. They're not going to go to my site in Vegas and some other agent site in Florida. They can just go to one site now. And the MLSs now, you know, this was done to keep commissions up, and now they're losing market share. Now market share is getting taken away by Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and all these other portals that are coming up. Like HomeLight is making a big play right now. It's a big issue.
So do you think that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but and again, my ADHD and my Adderall only kicks in like after 4 o'clock. Do you think it's the lack of tech savvy from the MLSs and from at the local level to be like, hey, wait a minute, you know, we don't know what's going on. They're completely in the dark. Is that, because I guess, how has the competitive advantage, the pendulum swung so far over to Zillow when you've got a lot of smart people in real estate at the local levels? A lot of smart people.
It doesn't matter how smart you are if you're not given the same tools. They're not, the MLSs are used.
Take that. That's a deal. Take that.
Yeah. The MLSs know exactly what they're doing. They're keeping that data to themselves to protect themselves. They don't need they don't need to use technology. They got the data. They have a monopoly in each area, right? If you want that data, you got to join that MLS, and that's it. You don't like it, tough. And for the last 10 years, these companies, instead of investing in technology, they just said, hey, we'll give you our feed, Zillow, Realtor.com, and you know, you give us the referrals back and the leads. Well, now Zillow and Realtor.com are like, hey, we don't need you. And these companies didn't invest in technology. They sent it off to Wall Street. And these MLSs, they don't care. They own the data. All they care about is if they have members paying their dues. They don't care how many transactions you do. In fact, they don't make money on top producers any more than they make money on someone that doesn't do any transactions.
It's all dues.
In fact, they make more money on people that do little business than the ones that aren't do, because the people that do the business are maybe 10% of their revenue. So what am I, if only 10% of my revenue is coming from a certain group, am I going to help that group? No way.
Yeah.
I'm going to do what's best for my 90% revenue. And that's what we've been seeing the past 10 years. But what's happening now is that's starting to come back and bite them, because now with what we're seeing, that 90% is going to be pushed out. Zillow's only going to work with the top 150,000 agents. That's all they're going to work with. And those people are the ones that are the top producers.
So, and that was my next question is this: what is the overall impact that this is going to have on the real estate community nationwide? I mean, this thing's going out. For those of you that don't know, this is getting rolled out 2021 to Phoenix, Atlanta, and Tucson. But then it's only a matter of time, I think, until they're going to be everywhere.
Well, yeah, look, the Danger Report, NAR Danger Report. If you don't know what that report is, Google it. NAR Danger Report came out, I think, 2015, 2016. NAR paid for it, I believe. These companies aren't doing rocket science, not creating anything new. They're doing exactly what the Danger Report said. Consumers want to work with knowledgeable professionals. The biggest threat to our industry was poor, unknowledgeable, untrained agents. Right. That's what the report says. That's not my opinion. So what is Zillow and Realtor.com doing? They're working with the top agents, the top 150,000 agents, the top agents in that area. They're giving them these buyers. Consumers are going to these sites because there's no other option, because the MLS and NAR didn't provide a national MLS, which would give us more credibility. So who's going to go to 5 different sites? Nobody. They didn't do the national MLS because the national MLS would create less agents, less realtors, but more highly qualified realtors, because you'd have one system. Not only that, if I wanted to have a site where I could have the data on all 50 states, it'd be so much easier because I could plug in to one site and have all that data. Now it's impossible to do because I got to plug in the 600 different sites. And if that doesn't work, then I got to do ListHub for about 10, 15 grand a month. And the data still doesn't get the sold data when you use ListHub. So how can I compete with these guys? I can't. Even if I'm.
Where do you see the landscape then? Let's say, it's the 24th of September, and let's say that you and I do this again, September 24th, 2021. What does the real estate landscape look like in your eyes on a national basis?
So on a national basis, it's going to be similar to what we see right now, except in certain areas. But 12 months from now, we're going to see the writing on the wall. The people that have their head in the sands right now, they're not going to be able to deny it anymore. We are already seeing what's going to happen. All you got to do is look at these sites. Zillow is making these moves because they see the competition doing it. They see Redfin getting more and more direct feeds. Hey, the worst nightmare that NAR ever wanted was banks getting into real estate. And the largest, quote, bank just did it. Quicken, Rocket.
Yeah.
Rocket, go to rockethomes.com. Rockethomes.com is going to compete with Zillow. Zillow is making these moves now because there's an urgency for them to be the leader. Because if they don't make these moves now, Rocket Homes, which is Quicken, which remember, Quicken destroyed Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America. They're the number one lender the past 10 years. And realtors don't like to hear this, but they have also been branded the number one in customer service by the consumer. They're getting into real estate. There's some parts of the country already, you can go to rockethomes.com and find your properties there because they have enough money to get over these MLSs. That's why Zillow is doing this right now. And you're going to see, like I said, the Game of Thrones, Quicken versus Zillow, Rocket Homes versus Zillow.
So Debbie Frakes has a good question. So she wants to know what's the solution for realtors?
Hey, give us the same data. We are not losing because of technology. We are losing because we don't have access to the same data. Zillow has data to all these MLSs, and now they're going to get direct feed to these MLSs. And the reason why they're doing this now is because Redfin is starting to get, I think they have over 200, Redfin has over 200 direct IDX feeds from these MLSs. And Rocket Homes is also a real estate company. They're one company. There's a big difference between a franchise and a real estate company. Rocket Homes is a real estate company. Redfin is a real estate company. EXP is a real estate company. They're one company. That means they can get all those feeds direct. Like a Realogy and Keller Williams, those are franchises. So when they get IDX feeds, it's a whole different spread, which is ridiculous. These MLS firewalls are hurting competition, and ultimately the consumers are paying a higher price because I could do it a lot better. A local realtor will always do better than a national. Everybody knows that. But if the national has a huge advantage and they can do it for a lot less with the same service, they're going to go to the national. But if you can do the same thing as the national, they're going to go local. People want to use local, but you can't be local and not do it for the same service and not have the same data. So if we can't provide the same data as the national one, we're going to lose. And I'm paying 30-40% for leads. It's crazy.
So do you think it's basically it's a done deal, fait accompli, that that the not top producing realtor nationwide is going to be out?
The top 150,000. I mean, we don't need 1.6 million realtors, right? We need 150. We need 150,000. That's it. We don't need 16,000 agents in Vegas. We need 3,000. And where have we seen before that model works, and it works well, and the consumers get better service and better cost? Loans. The mortgage industry had a big shakedown about 10 years ago. Right now, I mean, there's very rare do you get an idiot lender anymore. Where before they made those changes, they're a dime a dozen, right? Every mom, dad, brother, and sister were mortgage people. That's not the case today.
So Robbie Dirth has a great question. He says, how are you going to pivot moving forward, Steve?
Doing the same thing the national portals do on a local basis. People want, it's easy. Check out the Danger Report. They want knowledgeable realtors. You have to be able to get to that consumer and let them know you're not just a realtor, you're a realtor with knowledge, you're a realtor with experience. For example, I say the word lawyer. What do you think of? You can't even cuss on it.
Shyster. No,
there you go.
Shyster.
Exactly. But when we have a lawyer that's a friend that we know that person and we trust that person, we still call him a shyster. No,
they're the best. I love them. Yeah.
Right. Same thing with realtor. When you tell a consumer realtor, what do they think? So you have to get your personality. You have to get your brand. Not even your brand. You got to get your personality out to the consumer on a local basis, hyper-local basis. Now, if we had the data all over the country, like our competitors, like these tech gurus that aren't tech gurus, all they have is the money to get over the MLS firewalls. That is how they're reaching the consumer right now, through data. They don't care. In fact, Realtor.com had a great report. 75% of the consumers, the buyers, worked with the first agent they met with. You know what that means? They didn't do any research or nothing. Open the door for me. Why? Because Realtor.com had the data.
So do you think it comes down to realtors becoming more data savvy and being more, and
it's not about being data savvy. When I say we don't have access to the data, We need access to the MLSs and all the MLSs. I need access to the MLSs for me in Vegas. My business would double if I could have the access to the MLSs in San Diego, San Francisco, all those places. Because guess what? Those people are going to go to my site now to look what their house is worth. And then while they're looking for what their house is worth, they're going to go to Las Vegas and find out what they can get for that house. And when they're doing that, they're going to call me and say, hey, I'm on your site. My house is in San Francisco here, and I'm looking to buy this house in Vegas. Right now, they're doing that, but they're doing that on the portals that have the data in San Francisco and the data in Vegas. If this ain't rocket science, I could do this I could have that up and running in 10 minutes. But I can't get the data from San Francisco. If I want to do the List Hub data, I don't get the sold data. And then if I want to get the IDX feed, it costs money. I can't get MLSs will charge me $10,000 to get the IDX feeds. That's craziness.
How do you think that, or if at all, NAR is going to react?
Hey, refer to my NAR Civil War. The NAR does not represent, NAR has to take care of themselves first, okay? Same with the local MLSs. It's common sense. They can't worry about agents or companies. They're going to take care of what they think is best for them. We've seen how they react like a light. They don't. What I do know is one of things like the realtor stuff is, one of their responses was to these investigations was, hey, I'm a competitive system. It's the best we got, and so on. Well, no, Zillow just upended that. Zillow just upended that and says, hey, you know what? We're going to have the data. We can create a national MLS. What happens if Zillow decides to publish the buyer side commissions, right? What if Zillow decides to put the logo of the listing agent? Zillow already said that they're willing to give the listing agents easier access for the consumer to contact them, unlike these other portals that hide. You saw when I called a portal and I hit the button that said contact agent, and we got 4 phone calls, and 2 of them said, hey, we work for the portal. No, you don't. You work for a local company out here. But they've been trained to act like they work for that portal because the consumer doesn't know, and the consumer thinks that they're contacting listing agent. Zillow, in this situation, is actually realtor friendly because they're going to say, hey, if you're the listing agent, we're going to give you credit on that. That would give them a huge advantage over NAR. One of the big questions that these companies are saying is, why don't you publish the buyer's agent commission on the sites? Why is that being hidden? That's being hidden to protect poor, unknowledgeable agents. Experienced, knowledgeable agents can show their value and get their value, but new agents, in the Realtor.com report proved that. There's a 75% chance the first person that answers that phone is getting that buyer.
So if you were, head of NAR right now, what would you do?
Well, there's NAR has 2 problems. They got the old traditional model franchises that are saying, hey, don't change a thing. We can't adapt to this because our model, our business has been doing this for 40 years. This is we can't change this. And then you have the newer people that are saying, hey, you need to do this right now, or we're going to lose our market share in 3 to 5 years. Now we could lose our market share in 6 to 18 months because of that data. So we have a huge civil war going on right now. You got, people that want to retire in 3 to 5 years that say, don't change a thing because the commissions are going to drop, or I'm going to lose market share, but I have enough to survive the next 3 to 5 years. Don't change a thing. And then you have people that go, hey man, I got another 10 or 20 years. I need to protect our industry. You need to do this. So NAR is like, what do we do? Because what they need to do for long lasting is not what the old timers want done. Ask any agent that's in the business new, what do they say? Wow, why are we doing stuff like this? This is so old fashioned. This is not needed. This is not needed. This is not needed. Well, we need to trim that. We need to make the process for today's, what the consumers want today, just like the Danger Report said. And the companies that are doing that are making a killing. Look at Redfin. Redfin's a $5 billion company today.
Yeah.
How? Because they got all that data and they're giving the consumers what they want.
Yeah.
And the Redfin partner agents, are the best agents in the business.
So do you think it's an antiquated business model and on behalf of NAR with like these siloed, MLSs?
Well, of course, you have 600 different MLSs, at least that I know of. It's probably, it could be more, but there's at least 600 that have different rules, different regulations. Now, guess what? If everybody had to deal with that, then okay. But guess what? These big companies, they got enough money to get over what I call these MLS firewalls. What are MLS firewalls? Well, if I want the data in Houston, I got to do all these crazy things. I got to put the logo here. I got to do this. I got to do that. If I want the one in Austin, I got to do this. I got to do that. If I want the one in San Antonio, I got to do this. If I want all different rules, all different regulations, you got to map out all the data. It's impossible unless you have hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you do, you get over those walls and you got yourself a lottery ticket. And that's why Zillow is worth $20 billion and Redfin is worth $5 billion. Redfin is worth more than all the franchises combined times two, I believe. Look, Realogy, Remax, who else? Keller Williams. Remax and Realogy, I think right now is worth about $2 billion. Well, Redfin's worth $5 billion. So what is Wall Street telling us? Those other companies can't compete with Redfin because they can't get over those firewalls because they're a franchise, not one company, but they could if there was one MLS. Everybody knows. I mean, come on. Do we really need 600 MLSs? Why do we have all these different rules? Why do we have? This goes back to what we were talking about before. It's like AT&T. It's like AT&T, but the opposite in 1980. You have all these little companies that are kind of like long distance, and they're not going to let you use their telephone lines. I'm not going to let you use my telephone line and pay me money. Well, those aren't your telephone lines. That's data that's owned by the public. You just have that. Just like AT&T, they built those telephone lines. They put all the infrastructure in there, but they still had to share that bandwidth. And that's why we have free long distance today.
So, all right, we've got about 5 minutes left because Lord knows we can go on forever about this, and we will be doing a part 2 of this next week. If I'm a new realtor, or if I'm someone that is been in business for a couple of years and I'm still trying to get my feet underneath me with what I should be doing, what are some things I should be focusing on right now, moving forward, given the ever-changing landscape nationally?
Well, I mean, it depends on what city you're in, right? If you're in one of those cities where you can do these programs, I mean, people say don't buy leads. Heck, if you're a brand new agent and you have the opportunity to get leads and pay 30% referral, you do it. And that's how you build up your database. You know, call your sphere of influence. Yeah, call your sphere of influence, but you know what? You can only squeeze so much lemonade from a lemon, right? You only know so many people. You don't want to become that Amway guy that's calling every single day, right?
Yeah.
Buy those leads while you still can. If it's a 30% referral, so what? That's what's going to cost you anyways. You want to get out and meet as many people now, because if real estate is the only business where if you've been in the business 1 year or 30 years, where you sold 1,000 homes or one home, you get paid the same.
Yeah.
The buyer's agents get paid the same, whether it's 30 years or 1 year, because the seller has to knock it out. So guess what? And what else do we know? This is a huge advantage for new agents. That Realtor.com report, 75% of the buyers choose the first agent they meet. So all this is a number games if you're new. They don't even care if you know anything, because if they're talking with this first person they meet 75% of the time, that means they're not doing the research to see how much experience they have. Buyer's agents don't need as much credibility, as much experience as they did in the past, and they don't need as much knowledge because the consumers have all that knowledge. So if you're a brand new agent, what's the number one thing to do? Meet as many people as you can. It's only a numbers game. If you can get these leads for pay them a 30% referral, take them. Now, if you're brand new and you can't pay up front, obviously that's not going to work for you. Find all these different sites, which there's a ton now, that they'll give you leads, and when you close, you pay them a 30% referral. Just do 5 of those, 10 of those a year. Well, how many referrals are those going to people? Now you've probably built a base up of about 50 referrals from those people. And that's another thing we want to hit on next time. What is the economic cost to realtors and to consumers?
Yeah.
Less firewalls. What is the economic cost? In the past, we didn't know. Now we know. We can talk about this next time. Billions of dollars now per year is the economic cost because of these MLS firewalls.
And do you see, anyone stopping it, or anything stopping it?
Well, no, NAR's got these lawsuits right now, and these tech companies are taking advantage of it. They know if NAR tries anything crazy, or these local MLSs trying anything crazy, they're going to say, hey, look what they're doing. They're restricting information. They're restricting data again. So what's the only solution? Give the data to everybody so we can all compete on an even playing field. Realtors win, the consumers win.
Open source.
That's right.
Open source everything.
Show me one thing in history where you keep it locked in like this that works.
Yeah.
I don't know of any.
My marriage. Maybe. We'll see. All right, my friend. For those of you that are, that have been coming in and asking questions, all that, if we haven't gotten to you, I'm sorry. But we'll be back next week. What I'm going to do is I've saved this to the cloud. I couldn't share it from LCA, but I've got it now downloaded to the cloud. It's going to be uploaded in the next 5 minutes on Steve's, on his Facebook page, on my Facebook page, and we'll be sharing it all over the place. So feel free to share this, go back and look at it, arm yourself with information, do the things you need to do, because this is another great example of how quick things can change in our business. Whether you're in lending, title, or you're a realtor, things can change just like that when you've got the money and you've got the data. That's what it comes down to. So my friend, we will part, and we will do this again next Thursday at 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.
Excellent. Take care.